Good morning and welcome to Coffee Ann, the longest-running panel discussion show in American radio. To make a comment or ask a question of the panel, call 401-766-1240 or email coffee@woonsocketradio.com. And now, let's join the Coffee Ann panel.
Good morning to you. It is time for Coffee Ann here on ON AM and FM. Thanks for joining us. It's Monday morning. It is April 15th. We like to call this day Tax Day, but it's not really Tax Day around here because it's a holiday in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Hooray!
Don't tell it to the check in my car that's going to be put in the mail.
Well, you can do that if you like, but Tax Day is actually tomorrow.
Yes.
in these parts because it's Patriots Day or Boston Marathon Day, whichever way you want to call it. So obviously the three of us are not running in the marathon.
No.
Because we're all right here with bright, shiny faces.
Oh, I knew I was supposed to be somewhere else.
My name's Joe Callahan. That's John Ward. Good morning, John.
Good morning.
And Melissa Murray is here. Hi, Melissa.
Good morning.
All right.
I won't even run if I'm being chased.
You give up right away?
I'm just not a runner.
Not a runner. Okay. Have you, I may have asked this before, have you known anyone that's finished the Boston Marathon? No?
As an official runner, no. I always thought Joel Matthews ran it officially, but he didn't.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, he would just, after everybody took off, he'd run the marathon that same day.
Why didn't he run it with everybody else?
Well, I guess you have to qualify.
Well, you do. That's right.
And,
yeah.
but he would run it and come in to council meetings at night after having
run it?
That's
Wow.
wild.
Okay.
Right. Which is, I would imagine it's a little bit wearing on you to actually run that course.
I do know one person that has run it a couple of times. My neighbor across the street has done it. He's in tremendous shape, and but doesn't do it anymore. He did it about, I would say, a decade ago. Did it for a few years, and then that's enough.
It's a lot on the body.
Yeah, but he's now getting into his 50s and like, I don't need to do this anymore. I've done it, and that's it. The only other person I knew, not that my brother ran it, but my brother had a friend who was running it. And he contacted him ahead of time. He goes, Bill, my brother's name, I'm going to need your help at the what are they Heartbreak Hill.
Heartbreak Hill.
He goes, I need you at Heartbreak Hill when I come by, jump in with me. And then it's about 6 miles, I think, from there.
Oh, to make sure
To get to the end. Encourage him, keep him running, keep his spirits up, and
It's a good idea.
press him on so that he finishes. He said, and my brother said, it's just the coolest thing because the crowd, they didn't know my brother hasn't
Run the whole thing.
run the whole thing.
Just
So
jumped in.
He jumped in at the 6 mile mark.
They probably don't let you do that now.
The people, probably not with the security, but the people cheering you on, he says it's really very invigorating. It's very, very, very cool. So he was always glad he was able to do that. And his friend didn't finish. So
Awesome.
So that was good.
My son felt he should do that when I decided I was going to run a half marathon at 60 years old.
Okay.
So he came along for the ride.
The whole thing, or did he jump
whole
in halfway
thing.
through?
The whole thing.
Okay, just to make
You know,
sure.
it really was important when it was the one that runs through Pawtucket and through Lincoln, and when you get onto River Road and you're climbing the hill.
Oh, that hill. Yeah.
Getting up there before it goes downhill back to the bike path. That was a bit much.
Tough.
But once there, I was surprised when I got to the 10-mile mark and there was just a little over 3 miles left, and I literally in my mind I said, "Oh, gee, there's only a 5K left. We're all set."
Oh, there you go.
And it was.
Yeah, that's right.
Because by then I guess your body's a little bit numb, but you're in a
Beaten
rhythm. You're in a breathing rhythm. Your blood flow is working. I wasn't going fast. I wasn't setting any records. But if I had been able to maintain that pace and do it again, I would have taken 5 hours to do a marathon. But that's just the mere fact that I was able to do a half marathon.
That's good. That's still
and
impressive.
2.5 hours was, like I said, I wasn't rushing. I just wanted to be able to do it.
And you look at those.
And if I ever run it again, it'll be on a flatter
surface, this flatter route. But you look at the people that finish it, that win it actually.
Oh,
and
good Lord.
how fast they're running continuously for 2.5 hours.
Yes,
Oh,
that's
like
the
that.
staggering
That's
part to me is
outstanding.
they're moving it close to
Like a 6-minute mile.
just under 12 miles per hour,
Yeah.
or somewhere between 12 and 13 miles per hour. Because if they're doing
For
2
26
hours and a
miles.
couple of minutes
Yeah.
at 26 miles, that's 13 miles per hour. So it's just a little bit less than that. Now I've been, if you ever want to experience it, hold on to the handles, but get on a treadmill.
And try to go that
And
fast.
while you're holding the handles and your feet are flying,
Yeah.
have somebody raise the speed on it until you reach 12.
Yeah.
I've had that happen. I've had that done.
Yeah. And you didn't fall
And
off the treadmill?
I didn't fall off, but I didn't last very
No.
long.
Okay, down.
And I think a lot of it for them, well, of course, they do it all their lives in many cases or for many, many years, but their stride is so long that it would, I think if they ever counted the number of steps against your recreational runner, their steps are fewer because when they push off with one foot to go to the next one, the distance between the footfalls is huge.
Yeah.
So they cover a lot of distance with each step.
It's like watching a horse run.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a thoroughbred.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time spent
Look
in
at
the
all the
air.
time of the year. That's right.
That is, you probably can't read my writing.
No, I can.
But that was the name of the caller.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I know I looked. I saw you looked at it. You're
Yeah,
like,
no,
I
was
don't
gonna
understand
ask
this.
But a caller named John says he ran it as a non-qualified member, and several
okay. Is that
several
what it is?
hundred people do this. They just
Oh,
wait for
all
the,
right.
the real
That's cool. I know he
runners
did
go,
it. He did it regularly.
and then you start out.
Because I remember I'd go be at the Y working out, and Joel would be there on his treadmill, and he looked like he had the elevation up at around 10 degrees, and there he is, and he's holding on, and the sweat's pouring off of him, and he would prepare for it, and then he would run it.
And that's called having a good
I
time.
Hey,
For fun.
It was what he liked to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, okay. And it takes years, if not
Yeah.
months or
It does.
years of practice to get up
But
to
he did
26.
it very often.
Wow. Well, okay. Yeah, that's right. Because they look at this marathon. Okay, when's the next one? Is it like New York City? In a couple of weeks, they have their marathon. And all right,
That's when you got to cross the bridge.
the bridge. Yeah.
Well, although that
That's right.
bridge isn't so bad, I always am fascinated by the people who go down across do the Pell Bridge run for charity thing they do.
In Newport.
I mean, you see those suspension bridges?
Oh yeah. Go.
The incline.
Yeah.
Oof,
I walked that.
forget about
Well,
it.
that must be tough too.
No, it wasn't. It's the toughest part was being there so early in the morning.
Yeah.
Like trying to get down there all the way from here and
Yeah.
no, but it was.
That's
I
a-
did
that's
that
a
one. It
steep-
was a nice. Yeah,
It's
it
a
was a
steep
nice.
climb going up that bridge.
Yeah.
Coming
And
down's
steep
probably
coming down
easy.
too.
Yeah. That's why I walked it.
All right. Well, tonight the Woonsocket City Council meeting will be meeting
We are?
at yes you are at 6 o'clock, John.
Yes,
Don't
we
forget to
are.
be there at 6 to bang the gavel.
Oh, yes. That's,
Call that meeting to order.
it says 6 o'clock.
All right. And so what are the
Sometimes you have to check because there was once there didn't say 6 o'clock.
Okay. what are the highlights on tonight's agenda meeting? On the agenda for the meeting.
We're not doing anything at all.
Nothing big, nothing important.
No,
at all?
we have a lot of reports. I encourage people to go look at them. You know, it's the kind of thing that makes for good conversation around the dinner table when you look at the way the city spends money, what we do with various things. But I particularly I read the public safety report because you get police reports on the statistics for the things they do, and sometimes people don't appreciate how many calls they have to respond to.
All of them.
Plus, you get the odor report from Jacobs Engineering. Is always
Oh, that's enjoyable
interesting.
reading.
However, we do have some old business that we're going to go over. One of them is $80,000 of ARPA funds to pay for our contribution for the next cycle of statistical revaluation. And then we have an ordinance to reduce the amount of interest we charge on miscellaneous charges down from 18 to 12%. And then the one that's going to be a little contentious, and I think is probably going to fail, actually, has to do with the food hub, which is a problem because it requires that we sign a mortgage with the Economic Development Administration for 15 years. That requires compliance with all of the terms of the grant, and they get to have approval control over who the tenants can be, and it would put the city in a landlord situation trying to
With no
recruit
say.
tenants. Well, we would have say, we would select them, but then they would have to be approved by the feds. It's very convoluted and much more complex than I think it was originally thought. And there's not a lot of support among council members to do this under those circumstances. And so that might get shot down, which means we have a $790,000 building we have to figure out what to do with.
I was wondering how the nuts and bolts of that was going to work with city
as a landlord.
managing that and doing all, like, do you have the staffing? Do you, like, I know you don't, but it's not really something that a city does. It's something that a nonprofit does or a quasi does.
Let's put it this way: it's not something a city does unless you're a very large city. So you have whole departments. That
Yeah, right, right.
Some of what is a department in some of the larger cities in the country we call quasi-public corporations.
Yes.
In the state of Rhode Island, never mind Woonsocket. This is the kind of situation, I've always been an advocate and wondered how it is that we don't have some group of nonprofits or nonprofit that gets together and creates a food co-op in the city, picking a location that's affordable to them.
We desperately need it.
And just
It'd be
do
great.
And that would be a great place to do it, but not that the city runs.
Yeah, great concept.
Because,
Never understood how it was going to work.
With all due respect to my senator colleague in government here, the one thing that you can assure yourselves of becoming inefficient at doing things with is by having the government involved in managing it. And this is a perfect case of that. If people, I have a cousin that lives out in Washington State. She lived in California. A fan of Newsom, I believe. Worked for Apple, but she lived out in that part of the country that does things differently. And she's a big advocate, and she works in a food co-op arrangement and out in the Seattle area. And we forgive her, but no, she's very nice. She's actually was born the same time I was. But she does that. It's a food co-op with as many agencies that come together.
Yeah.
They have a location, and they bring in growers and all kinds of inventory into the food co-op, and they sell it at a price people can afford, and it works. It can work.
It's a wonderful concept, but
I don't know why it just not has taken hold in Woonsocket, but I'm always, the more I hear about how our local government has been run the last couple of decades, as you get closer to it, you begin to understand why. There's a lot of ego, there's a lot of pride that gets in the way of simply letting things happen that could be beneficial, without necessarily the government having to sponsor it or do anything about it. And as I so often say, the best government is sometimes the government that just stays out of the way.
Okay.
Lets things happen. So
What else? Back to
that'll
the-
probably
back
fit.
in- okay.
Now we get on to new business. I'm not going to deal with the stuff that's kind of crazy and ridiculous and normal, but I'm going to hit the one of which has to do with salaries. It says for non-union employees, and that would be we're trying to bring a city planner in, and it's become very difficult to get a planner, but there's a chance of getting a planner, but we have
Okay.
to raise the pay. So the first one is to raise the pay of the planner's position up to $92,000, and frankly, that's competitive but not high.
yeah.
From what I know about surrounding communities, as a matter of fact, from what I understand, the planner in Lincoln that came there, that's earning a little over $90,000, is leaving for more money.
Ah.
So that happens. It's
Yeah,
tough.
okay.
It's a tough world after COVID because all the private companies are paying a lot more money than they were before COVID. Then there's an ordinance on non-classified employees. This one having to do with the person that's managing the lead program. He's got a huge amount of work. He does a huge amount of work, and so they're going to add a position in there, and they're going to increase the pay in that position, but much of it's going to be funded with the grant from the feds, that $4 million grant that's out there that we were trying to spend. We will spend on some of this programming through the personnel costs associated with it. Then we get into some meaty stuff. Contract with a company for the installation of a water main at Cass Park to hook up the bathrooms and concession stand, and it's also set up to be for the community center clubhouse that's going to be on the site. A resolution to get paving materials and paving done with for hot asphalt mix for the Public Works Department for the summer. A contract, and this one's going to get tricky. A contract with Rouse Architects, because apparently when you do engineering for an athletic complex and design, you then need an architect. But I understand for like the bathrooms and the concession stand, and if the community center goes there and the clubhouse, even if it's just the clubhouse, you would need somebody to architecturally design the building, and that all have to get taken care of, and this is for Rouse Architects to do that. Another one has to do with hiring the company that for the season will be doing our sidewalk work for the city.
All right, hold that thought there for a minute because we're going to take a break there, John. But more about tonight's agenda on the Woonsocket City Council coming up here on Coffee and on ON Radio.
This is an ad about a self-made teen. Me. See, I go to school, I do my chores, but I also have my own goals. I'm saving what I earn from making radio ads like this one to buy a gaming computer, and I'm using my Embark account to do it. With no fees, mobile banking, and a money management tool, it's like a spend account, but a lot smarter. So if you're a self-made teen like me, I suggest you get one too. The Embark account, banking for the self-made teen. Navigant Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA.
The Coffee and panel is enjoying coffee from Down East Coffee Roasters. All their coffee is roasted right here in Rhode Island. Down East Coffee Roasters is available at all Little General stores.
Blackstone Valley's ON Radio.
It is Coffee and on ON. Thanks for joining us. Joe Callahan here with Melissa Murray, Woonsocket City Council President John Ward, going over tonight's agenda of the Woonsocket City Council meeting that can be heard here on ON beginning at 6.
Keep going. I'll pick it up with the fact that we have a request for the mayor to execute a construction and maintenance agreement with the state for the improvement of city bridges. The two bridges in question that are going to be worked on first are going to be Singleton Street and River Street, I believe.
Great.
Which are the ones down up to the north end of the group that's on the river, where they're going to basically strip them down and rebuild them. Another one on there, it's interesting, has to do with Mount St. Charles. In case anyone notices it, it's cancellation of some taxes because they had bought a house to expand their ownership of space near the baseball field, and which they're, by the way, going to start doing a renovation of, with putting in lights and putting in artificial surface. But they bought this house on Washington Street right abutting that property, and when they did, the city asked for permission to use it for firefighter training because it was a very old house that was in disrepair, and so they left the house there and just let the firefighters use it for a short
Burn it
time.
as much as you want.
And yeah, damn it, destroy it.
That's right.
But then they paid the full taxes on the property, and I thought there was supposed to be an arrangement for a deal for the city to abate taxes or waive taxes for a period of time and such, and it never got done.
Okay.
So we're going to be abating about $6,500 of the taxes that they paid. Not all, but probably about half. Because they agreed to let the city use the property for training, which we thought was a reasonable accommodation.
Okay.
And then the rest of it's a discussion stuff, and you'll notice there's this giant list from Mr. Corey Johnson to address a variety of topics that we were given much notice about. Unfortunately for Mr. Johnson, he can speak. He's got 10 minutes. He can speak to these things. I'm not sure how engaged the council member questions will be because Mr. Johnson is a party in litigation with the city over assessed values of properties that he's involved with. And so I'm not sure that, the solicitor is advised already that we should probably not want to respond to him in any way because
That's
of
advisable.
the fact that we're engaged in litigation.
Yeah.
That's that thing where first thing you hear is the 5 words, upon the advice of counsel.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to listen to him because he has some very strong feelings about how the city government works. And then the Public Works Director will be speaking about the usual things: Cass Park, Community Center, Dion Track, wastewater facility, homelessness and litter, All Saints Church property and purchase. Councilman Genron's going to be discussing our tax situation and financial condition. And his previous requests for an inventory of all outstanding grants, which is very important we get our hands on so we know where things are. And a request by Councilman Thompson to address tax abatements, tax assessments, lawsuits from the former administration. Again, that's all tied in with our financial situation. Tax assessor to address the homestead exemption, mayor to address the community center, the athletics complex, the dog shelter, and then me.
Oh, what do you want to talk
about? The Mendon Road. I'm going to keep the Mendon Road land purchase investigation on the docket every meeting.
Until it's complete, right?
So I just give it an update until, well, it's coming soon. In about a month, we'll have a report, and it'll come. Costs associated with Roy Avenue project and the Cass Park Athletic Complex and the Charter Review Commission work and Hamlin Avenue gas line work. You know, your favorite topic.
Well, I keep getting detoured around.
But as to the Charter Review Commission work, one of the things, noticing that Councilman Gendron has requested information on all the grants, I've actually submitted, in thinking about that, purchases over 100,000 needs council approval, and the fact that contracts are extending over a year needs council approval. That's put into the section under purchasing, and it really, that would count for grants where we don't have specified purchases in the grant application themselves. But it doesn't account for those things that require an appropriation because it's a general grant like ARPA was. And so I actually drafted language that mimics that for items, balances over 100,000 and requiring council approval if it's over 100,000, or if it's a grant that extends over a year, where the council will be part of the approval process prior to the application being made to make sure that it's something that the city government in totality even has an interest in to avoid the surprises we used to get where everything's like, for instance, this food hub grant was applied for, it was awarded, the mayor signed it in August of 22. It was February of 23 before the council even was approached about buying a property to do the job. Now we're into March of 24 or April of 24, and we're looking at a mortgage document that got to us only 2 months ago through the solicitor's office, and there's a deadline for beginning work of May of 24 in order to comply with the grant. So we could quite literally be in violation of the grant terms before we even begin. That's the problem with not knowing what's going on and everybody playing their cards so close to the vest that it makes for mistakes along the way.
We got a note called in, 766-1240, and kind of what you just mentioned, John. Looks like work on Hamlin Avenue has resumed.
Yeah.
What's the latest update on that?
Simply that they're getting closer and closer to the end as they move down the street. Again, I'm going to be discussing and I'm going to be asking whether or not we have come up with some source of funding to repave the road, because it's not a gas company project. It's done at the request of the city. And this is, as Director D'Agostino referred to it, and I refer to it, it's another case of the cart before the horse. You know, and unfortunately now we're going, I mean, the road needed paving, and that's what was in play, but it's not been budgeted. It's not been planned in a financial situation. And a lot of times, and frankly, that's what I'm going to be speaking about tonight, is with, I indicated the Roy Avenue project cost. You know, we signed an agreement. People think we have a contract for a construction of 3.4, I think, something over $3 million to do that building and its surrounding space, parking lot, et cetera, for the enterprise funds, the water department. Well, that's all well and good, except I'm now questioning the finance director about the fact that we spent $250,000 out of water department funds to clear the land, prepare the land, and now the company that did that work is back at the site doing more work while the contractor's working where the building site is. And I want to know, how far does this go, and what resource in the water department do we have to pay for this that should maybe otherwise be getting used for actual water infrastructure? You know, we're always hearing about how the lines many lines throughout the city are old, need to be taken care of and replaced. Well, how far could $250,000 or $300,000 or $350,000 go towards that? I understand clearing the land for preparation of the building, and that was the $250,000. But there was never a discussion in a budget for the water department to do that out of the water department funds. I've asked to see where it is in the water department budget because I couldn't find the account number in the reports. It's those kinds of questions that trouble me. Hamlin Avenue, where you're doing work and you're tearing up the road, but you don't have a financial plan to repave
To finish
it yet.
it. Yeah.
and now we're jammed up against bad assessed values and the difficulty in taxing and covering the $800,000 of operating expenses that were in this year's budget using ARPA funds that we won't have full use of next year. So with all of these financial pressures, now we're going to have to come up with $1 million or more to pave Hamlet Avenue. We're spending water department money on moving dirt around over Unroy Avenue and Hillview. And Cass Park, I will be having a conversation this evening because the director pointed out that we made $1 million on the gravel, but in fact, there are about 9 invoices. If you look at the accounts payable report for paid invoices for that vendor for the site, there's about 9 invoices just in this month's report that are not included in his report. And I think I've come up with about, I received an account analysis for the accounts where those were charged. There's about 16 invoices that were not included. And so I'll be just
That still need to be paid.
no, they've already been paid.
Oh, they have been paid.
They just didn't make it into the director's report. So it's by my reckoning, we're owed about $89,000 as of the end of March. The $1.4 million in revenue is actually $1.3 million change because it's his is reporting based on billing. I was looking at the analysis from the amount of, or based on the accounting reports, which are cash basis. There's about $89,000 receivables at this point. And then there's all of those costs, which total up over $400,000. So we're closer to less than $500,000 of profit off the soil, off the gravel. And I'm going to be asking about that this evening because, you know, this all goes back to that press conference in 2020. And of course, there's been much said of there's gold in them Nar Hills, and this is going to be enough to pay for the whole project. Well, it's not. It's barely going to be enough to cover the cost of preparing the site to do what you want to do. And the project cost is going to be all paid for. Fortunately, I'm unfortunately in a situation of saying, thank God for COVID, except for the fact that all those lives were lost. That's where we get the money from to do this.
Right.
Otherwise, I have no idea where
Where
we
it
would
come
be.
from.
You know, where would we come up with? We've set aside $5 million, but I think that's extravagant. I think we could do it for 4, possibly a little less. But where would we have done this? We'd have ended up going to a bond issue, I would imagine, because there was no place you're going to come up with that money easily, unless, except for the, I hate to say it this way, except for the good fortune of COVID generating ARPA funds.
Right.
So it's tragic that all of this glitz and glory and bragging and chest pounding was all because, oh yeah, the mayor was running for re-election against John Brean. So they came up with this new concept, promising the world, and basically stripping out the hill. I mean, as it is now, they're working on drainage issues because when you strip away all that soil, well, that soil used to absorb the rain and runoff from the ledge that's underneath.
Where's it going
on the
now?
hill at Aylesworth Avenue. Now it was washing away the hill, and it was running into Sylvester Pond. And DEM came in and said, "Yeah, no, this isn't going to work." So they're now having to install drainage, and then firm up the hill to make it work, so that the drainage is running somewhere other than into Sylvester's Pond with silt, and that's costing tens and tens of thousands of dollars. And to me, that's a cost of selling the gravel because you made the problem by selling the gravel. We haven't even added those costs yet. That's got to be added to take away from that $500,000. And so where are we with that? Except a bunch of empty promise. And it destroyed.
So you'll be asking all these questions tonight?
Well, yeah,
okay.
I'd like some answers.
Again,
and I'm
trying to get answers too. Okay.
probably, you may actually see me have to write a speech today that's going to be read instead of. I don't want to get into a tit for tat with the director, and I'm not pinning this all on the director. This was all bluster of the former mayor and the way she would make things out to be something that they're not, and never really planning well. You know, like I said, dig up, get the gas lines out of the street, fix them up. Oh, okay. How are you going to pay for the street? Well, we haven't worked that out yet. You know. Cass Park, it's going to pay for the whole thing. Yeah, no, it's not even close.
All right.
It was, again, the director was doing his job working for a mayor who was adamant that this was going to work, and it's not. Period. It was a bad faith political promise by somebody who felt she needed some program to pitch, when in fact it was empty. It was nothing but empty promises.
All right, we got to take a break here. It's time for a look at the forecast, being brought to you by True Green. Today, mostly sunny, high temperature near 67, a west wind 5 to 13 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly clear skies, low temperature around 41, west wind 6 to 9 miles per hour. Tuesday, another sunny day, high near 66. Tuesday night, mostly clear, low around 40. Wednesday, mostly sunny, high near 63. The outlook for Thursday, mostly cloudy and a high near 56. Currently outside the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Ave and Kennedy Street, sunny skies with 57 degrees. If you want a great-looking lawn, contact True Green today. All you have to do is water and mow. Sign up by April 20th to get one application free with an annual plan. Restrictions apply.
You know, when you're paying the right price for protection, you just know it. It's that warm, fuzzy, totally secure feeling, knowing that you're not only getting great coverage, but you're also not paying too much for it. And when it comes to your insurance, there's no one better at getting the right price for your protection than Allstate agents Kara and Celeste Benjamin, because they know when it comes to your bank account, every penny counts towards something bigger, something better. Like a nicer car, that home update you've been dreaming of, or a phone that's fresh out of the box. Those little or big things that we work so hard for. And Kara and Celeste Benjamin want to help you work a little less by getting you the coverage you need and the savings you deserve when you switch to Allstate. Contact Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. One agency, 2 locations in North Smithfield and Bellingham. 765-5000 for a free quote today. Allstate, you're in good hands. And you're in good hands with Kara and Celeste Benjamin at the Benjamin Agency. Savings vary based on the average annual savings reported by new auto customers surveyed in 2019 who switched to Allstate.
Dr. Jeffrey Dodge suggests you brush up on your brushing technique. Choose a soft toothbrush. Brush from side to avoid irritating your gums. Select a non-abrasive toothpaste, and you can even brush your tongue to help control bad breath. Brush especially after eating sticky foods like peanut butter, bananas, chewy candy, and dried fruit. Dr. Jeffrey Dodge, your family dentist on Park Avenue at Park Square, 762-3044.
The 3rd annual ON Radio's Senior Resource Fair will be happening on Saturday, April 20th from 9 a.m. to noontime. The fair will be held at the Woonsocket Elks Hall, 380 Social Street, Woonsocket. It's free admission to visit the over 20 vendors that will be in attendance. Some of the vendors in attendance will be Menard Lockature Funeral Home, Navigant Credit Union, Neighborhood Health Plan of Rhode Island, Saltitude Himalayan Salt Cave, St. Antoine Communities, and the Stearns McGee REMAX team. Come by and visit with Manny and Virginia Brandow and Gary Smith and the Do You Remember crew. We hope to see you at the 3rd annual ON Radio's Senior Resource Fair, Saturday, April 20th at the Elks Hall on Social Street from 9 to noon. That's coming up this Saturday. We hope to see you down there. It's Coffee Ann on ON Radio. I'm Joe Callahan. Thanks for joining us. John Ward is here. Melissa Murray's here. And we're being joined at the Coffee Ann table by Jay Levinson. Good morning to you, Jay.
Good morning, Joe.
Nice to have you here. Jay's from the North Smithfield Fire and EMT.
No, it's emergency management.
Emergency management. Okay, because your CERT program is starting up again this year.
Right. It will be starting on April 23rd. It goes from April 23rd to June 18th. The class runs from 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. on Tuesday nights at the EMA office in the town hall at 83 Green Street in North Smithfield.
And this is open to any adult.
Correct. Anyone
in the general area.
Right. We offer the course to people in the Woonsocket, North Smithfield, Cumberland, Lincoln, Burrville area.
Okay.
Smithfield area. Yes.
And you got to be 18, at least 18, right?
Well, at least 18, but there is such a thing as a CERT teen class, which we're also looking into. I've had a lot of interest from local high schools in the area who have inquired about the class. There is such a class, so we're also looking down the road to incorporate that class with with our CERT program as well.
When people take the class, Jay, just give us a brief rundown of what they will be learning over the next 9 weeks.
Sure. The class is, like I said, is open to the age of people over the age of 18. But let me just tell really quickly a real quick background of the class before I get into the course contents. Back in the early 1980s, the Los Angeles Fire Department realized that there was a need for citizens to help or to be prepared for emergencies in times of emergencies. Obviously, we're talking about Los Angeles, California. You have
Keep talking.
in California, you have earthquakes, fires, wildfires, all kinds
Mudslides.
of mudslides, all kinds of situations. They realized that in times like this, that the first responders could be delayed in assisting the people. They realized the importance of that they could overwhelm that happens. So they developed a program of offering it to citizens, teaching them about basic first aid, emergency preparedness, fire safety, disaster psychology is another area, and also putting together a team, an organization of citizens to help support first responders in times of emergency. So they developed this class for the citizens. It over the years, it's really caught on. Now in about 40 states, this class is offered. It's offered to companies have their own, like CVS has an ERT team, they call it. I've had members of their employees take our class. It's offered at universities. Universities have CERT teams. It's offered in counties, cities, towns throughout the United States. That there's different organizations that offer this program. As far as the class is concerned, it's a 9-week class. We spend a week on preparedness, emergency preparedness, which is a great class because it taught how you prepare for an emergency, your home front, putting together an emergency preparedness kit, preparing the outside of your home and the inside of your home. For example, outside could be if you have any trees, any kinds of gutter problems, anything that's not secure. If you have a windstorm, a hurricane, tropical storm coming, snowstorm, how to prepare the outside of your home as well as the inside of your home. Having a safe area of your home where you can go in case you have to. Shelter in place, making sure you have obviously enough water, enough food, enough flashlights, batteries. If you have a generator, and if you lose power, making sure that's working. I mean, just on and many things we talk about. So we talk about that the first week. Then we have a fire safety class where we actually teach people how to put a fire out, a small fire out. My co-instructor is a former Deputy Cranston Fire Chief, Leo Kennedy. He's been my co-instructor for years. Great guy, great wealth of information. We actually have a fire pan. We set up a fire pan and we show people how to use a fire extinguisher. They actually learn how to put a fire out. When you're talking about a fire extinguisher, you're talking about a small amount of accelerant that quickly goes. You have to be careful, but gives people an idea how to put a fire out. We talk about fire safety in the home, in the business. We spend a week on that.
And how you don't throw water on a grease fire?
No, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that.
Right.
And you don't want to put butter on a burn either. You don't want.
Where did that ever come from?
I don't know, but
That's
you
a
don't want to
real
do
old
that.
wives' tale.
Not a good idea. Okay, so and then we spend 2 weeks on medical operations. The first week we talk about basic first aid. We show people how to put bandages on, how to put splints on, head to toe assessment.
Tourniquets too?
Tourniquet,
or is that too advanced?
It's a little bit too advanced.
Okay.
Also, tourniquets is a tricky thing because that's really changed a lot.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because I could go on and on, but basically with a tourniquet, you're very careful how you use a tourniquet. That's more advanced first aid.
I see. All right.
But tourniquets are actually a good thing now. They've realized that you actually have so many minutes when you put a tourniquet on. It used to be that you would put a tourniquet on a victim, and you would then that limb was gone. You know, you did that for life-saving means. Now you have, I believe it's 75, 76 minutes once you put a tourniquet on, where the medical advance has come where you could actually
Save it?
save it.
Wow.
It's more involved now, but I'm not going to get into that too much. I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you that it has changed. Then we talk about the second week of medical operations, setting up an operation where a facility, outside facility, where we can assess patients, where we can actually set it up, where we talk about immediate patients, where we talk about minor and major patients, how we can actually set up an operation where if we had to treat people, we talk about that, and we get into a lot of area, a lot of information about that. I mean, again, it's a lot of stuff I can't really spend as much time as I'd like to talking about it, but it's very interesting. Then we talk about disaster psychology, which is very interesting because when you have an event, it impacts people differently.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody just lost their home in a fire, or they might have lost their pet, or whatever it could be, coming up to someone and saying, "Oh, it'll be okay. Everything will be all right," it's probably not the right words to say. Okay, so you have to kind of learn to deal with victims. Also, you have to rescuers. How does an event impact a rescuer? It does. It does greatly. Whether you have a search team involved, the fire department, police department have their own ways of techniques, of groups, of helping their members in times of a disaster, the aftermath of that. So we talk about that. Again, very important information to learn about. And we talk about that. We talk about how we work with that, how the search team is, that we talk about if someone takes this class and they want to join our search team, how with the buddy system, working together, helping each other out. Then the next week we talk about CERT organization, how a CERT team is organized, how we work as a team. Very important. And then we talk about we do a search and rescue. We light search and rescue. We're not where we actually have teams that do that. Actually help, can assist. We've been called out for different things to help. And we go through a basic search and rescue class. I went through a class with the Rhode Island State Police years ago, where they offered us different classes, and the search team now we have our own class that we do that, how to conduct a search. So that's pretty much the gist of what it is. And at the end of it, we throw a lot of information at people, but what we get out of that is, over the course of this 9 weeks, what happens is people develop a way to learn how to. It's a mindset. I call it. It's a mindset of learning how to be prepared, assessing the situation that you can use, because there's a lot of information. We provide the books, we provide the training. We also, at the end of the class, we have a cert kit we give to our members. They get certified in the class they've taken, and again they have the option of joining our cert team, going through the application process, or it's just someone who's taken the class and which is fine, and they pass that information on, they pass that knowledge on to their family, friends, or colleagues at work, or students, or whoever it could be. So that's pretty much what we try to do over the course of those 9 weeks.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Coffee and program, so Jay can take a little bit of a break. But if you're interested in taking the class, Jay, how can they get a hold of you?
Yes, website is nsema.org. That we will find our website where we talk about the CERT program as well as about North Smithfield EMA. It lists the topics that we discuss over the course of those 9 weeks, and a little bit of description of what they're about, and also a little bit of information about the instructors, and also it gives you a little information about, there's pictures of CERT, some of the things that we do.
Okay.
Also, my phone number, you can reach me at, it's 401-230-9327. Also, our EMA office number is 401-767-2267.
All right, more Coffee and coming up with Jay in just a minute.
When you visit the Menard Locature Funeral Home's website, you'll find a wealth of important information, including frequently asked questions about the various options of pre-planning funeral etiquette, visitation, personal help to help the family, and many others. Remember, pre-planning is safe and helpful to family members who may be overwhelmed with details and responsibilities. It also assures that the deceased's final wishes are met. Their website will also feature several photos of their 2 beautiful and classic funeral homes at 127 Carrington Avenue, Woonsocket, and 71 Central Street, Manville. You'll be treated with courtesy and understanding. Their main phone number is 762-1825. Menard Locature Funeral Homes.
The North Smithfield Emergency Management Agency has been awarded a grant to sponsor a 9-week Community Emergency Response Team training class, CERT, for area residents of Woonsocket, North Smithfield, Smithfield, Lincoln, Cumberland, and Burville. The CERT class includes training on the psychology of disaster trauma, light search and rescue, emergency preparedness, fire safety, and basic first aid. The class will be offered free of charge and will be held on Tuesday nights from 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. starting April 23rd through June 18th at the North Smithfield Emergency Management Office at 83 Green Street, North Smithfield. For further information, www.nsema.org. Remember, disaster preparedness should not be an afterthought, now more than ever.
You can depend on us for public service. ON Radio.
It is Coffee and here on ON AM and FM. Joe Callahan here with John Ward, Melissa Murray, and Jay Levinson from NSEMA, North Smithfield EMA. Before we get back to Jay, John or Melissa, do you have a question or any comments you want to make to Jay right off the bat here?
I think it's great that they're able to provide this kind of training. It's important. I think a lot of people don't think about being prepared.
Right.
And being prepared is a lot of it.
Until it's crunch time.
Well, it's just, if you don't know, then you get that panic that sets in. And the worst thing you can have in a situation that's dangerous is panic. Mm-hmm. And of course, then you get people like me who, when they're younger, they do stupid things. Like taking a video camera and walking the streets during a hurricane. When you never know what kind of branch and tree is going to fall on your head. But it was the North End. And so I was waiting for branches to fall.
Right,
off trees.
so many big trees.
But
yeah,
you just don't do that kind of stuff because it gets dangerous out there.
That's right. That's right.
Until you see the
get impaled with a
projectile coming
branch, you'll
through,
get. Oh my gosh!
I see the reports on TV about what projectiles do in tornadoes and how they can go right through a wall. And
Yeah.
you don't think about that stuff when you're outside. You really should, because it's dangerous out there.
All right. Melissa, any comments?
Yeah, I was wondering how many people have taken the course thus far. Do you know?
Over the course of the years that we've been
Yeah.
offering the class? I would say, several hundred people. I've taught also in other communities as well. We taught a class in Pawtucket years ago. Hundreds of people. I'm not
That's
really
great.
sure numbers.
That's really great.
But quite a few people have, and quite a few people have liked it. And as a matter of fact, some lives have been saved because of it.
That's
I've heard
fantastic.
stories
Yeah.
how people have helped other people. So that's good. We're spreading the word and really emphasizing the importance of preparedness, of helping each other out. I mean, this is whole community. This is not only our agency. This is the community from in our town, from the town administrator, the police, fire, public works, school committee, all working together, because that's our responsibility. That, you know, we're held accountable by the citizens, by the public in our community, to provide the safest community that we can, to try to help them out. I'm also Deputy Director of Emergency Management North Smithfield as well, in my other life, as far as my professional life and my other areas that I do. So yes, we have a responsibility to do that, and that's what we try to do.
And this class year round, or
No,
I know you have it in the spring.
Yes, we have a class in the spring, and we'll have a class in the fall.
Okay.
You know, obviously grants are important. That we're working on to get the funding to do it, because it does cost money to do it. But there's a great need for it, and people appreciate it. I wish we could do it more. I wish, looking out there, a lot of other communities, one of the things, the problem that we have, Melissa, is that keeping people interested. You know, we're doing this training, we have these drills. We get very complacent in this, because in this state, in many areas of the country, we don't have a lot of the issues, thank goodness, that other parts of the country have when it comes to man-made disasters or natural disasters. We get very complacent in what we think about, but things do happen. And when you ran a shelter, you open a shelter, or you're distributing medication, or you're doing some of the things that we do, it requires a lot of help. It requires staffing to do that, a lot of staffing. So you get into a sort of a crunch for that. Also, Rhode Island's a small state. If you get a disaster, a situation that impacts our area, our state, we have limited resources. Each community is trying to deal with it in their own way. How much community aid, mutual aid, can be sent to different areas? So again, these are things to think about. It's good that you prepare your citizens the best they can to help out. Have them be a little accountable. Have them take some responsibility in that as well. And by doing that, by offering programs like CERT, there's great resources. FEMA puts out fantastic resources and fantastic online classes that can be taken to get involved in that. And the other thing is it impacts people differently. You could have a young mother who, I've had young mothers who have young kids. I want to learn about first aid. Or you have business owners that, gee, this is good preparedness. I can convey this information to my employees, because if my business is impacted by a storm and they're worried about their family members at home and what's going on at home, they're not going to come to work.
Right.
That's their priority. Their head's not in the game. By having these preparedness, by offering these types of this type of information, providing this, it helps businesses, it helps communities at whole in many, many different ways. Yeah.
So the CERT class starts a week from tomorrow, April 23rd, runs for 9 weeks.
Yeah.
The class is every Tuesday, 6:30 to 9:30?
6 p.m. to 9:30.
6 to 9:30. How many people can the class have? Do you cut it off at like 20 or something like that?
Comfortably, it would be 20. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard to tell how many people are going to be taking the class right now, because basically, this time around we would normally have a class before a class and do such a thing where we get everybody together, we see who we'd have and such. But this class, the first class on April 23rd, we're going right into it, into the class. So we'll do a brief introduction for about a half an hour about the class. So I encourage people to call me or contact us this week so we can sort of get our attendance up. I mean, know who we have in the class, our roster together, and such. But usually, in my experiences with this class, it's last minute. People say they're going to take the class and they can't take the class,
right.
And that's kind of nonsense. So this way, it's last 2 weeks it comes in together, comes into motion, and it's starting to come into motion. So, but again, I would say around 20 people. But we offer the class again in the fall. So again, and if we could offer it 3 times a year, we would offer 3 times a year. It just depends on interest. It depends on how many people, the interest that it has, and it's getting more and more interest because people realize the importance of this preparedness now, especially in the world today, what's going on in this world today.
All right. When you talk about the basic first aid, does that cover CPR as well?
No, it doesn't cover CPR, but we offer a CPR class. We have an instructor. We have a EMA member, Richard Severia.
Oh, we know Rich.
Richard, who is also an EMA member.
Yes.
And he teaches our first aid CPR class. Yes,
Okay.
basic first aid and CPR. We do that. It's basic first aid, but you learn about the three killers. You know, shock, bleeding, and trauma. We talk about that, and we talk about assessing it, doing some basic assessments in the class. So we get into it a little bit, but not that involved. But you can learn a lot in that 2 weeks. And as I said, Leo, my co-instructor, is a great resource. He knows his stuff. You know, he's a great resource. We've been working together for a long time, and we really challenge the students. In this class, we challenge our students. They are involved in it. It's hands-on operation.
I was going to ask that. A lot of hands-on.
Hands-on, yes, more and more. You know, we do light search and rescue. We set something up. When we do the first aid, we actually have scenarios where people have different injuries, how to assess it. Also, in our light search and rescue, we have equipment, leverage equipment that we use. You know, not anything crazy, but we have equipment where we have people. We have trapped. You know, we don't use real people, but we use mannequins. But we actually have trapped situations where people are taught. Students are taught how to rescue people, how to do.
Like if they're caught under like a fallen tree or something like that?
Well, yeah, it's very basic, very basic. Obviously, first responders are there, coming great, but sometimes you have a big event. You may not see first responders right away. You may not. That may not be the case. You know, that may not be the case. So, but what we stress in this class, I want to make this very clear. We do not train people. We don't expect people to do anything beyond their training. That's not allowed. You work in the scope of your knowledge and your skill set. You don't want to hurt people. You're trying to help people, and we don't want the rescuer, our people, to get hurt themselves, because then you have another victim. So safety is predominant. We emphasize safety in all our training,
I was fascinated when you mentioned, when it was asked about high school students, and I think of not necessarily the full range, but I would think that 16 to 18 group, it would be great if they could be in some kind of training offered at that age level, or scouting groups and things that groups that get together at that age to be trained in many of those things, because though they're not full adults legally, they're very capable and could be beneficial in responding and reacting in bad situations.
That's very true.
And I don't know if it's generally offered to that age group in school, and maybe not because of cost limitations and timing, but it would be, I would think it would be something that would be wonderful if it was an opportunity that ever came along to have schools, high school, juniors, seniors.
Right. I actually have a group that's interested in this class, a group of high school kids that are interested in this class.
And you mentioned first responders getting there. I mean, I think I was up at Purgatory Chasm a couple of summers ago with my grandchildren, and you walk through that place, and the opportunities for things to go wrong are huge.
Numerous,
And you're not going to have
in a
first
cave.
responders there in 45 seconds.
No.
And I realized something when I was in there. I looked at my phone, and I was trying to see if we had a signal. We really didn't.
No.
There's not a lot of signal in there. So if you have a problem, somebody should stay with the person, and somebody needs to go get help.
Right,
because it's not like which means that's going to take an extra 3, 4, 5 minutes to get to the end of the trail, get to a building. There's a lot involved in that, and somebody needs to be there to manage the situation while it's happening, I guess.
Well,
At
Jay,
the
we're
most
coming.
basic level, of course.
We're coming to the end of the program, so we gotta wrap things up. So the 9-week course for CERT starts on April 23rd, and where does it take place again?
It's at the North Smithfield Emergency Management Office at 83 Green Street in North Smithfield in our office. Like I said, as you said, 6 p.m. to 9:30 Tuesday nights.
Check out the website at nsema.org. And if you have any other questions or want to come to the class, sign up for the class, you can contact Jay. Jay, what's your phone numbers again?
401-230-9327, and also our EMA office is 401-767-2267.
All right, Jay, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Melissa Murray, thanks for coming in.
Thank you. And just to let everyone know that link is now on our Facebook page. So if you, we can just go onto our Facebook page and it'll take you right to North Smithfield EMA's website.
Fantastic. John Ward, thanks for coming in.
Thank
Good
you
luck
for
tonight
having me.
at the
and,
City Hall.
6 o'clock this evening, we'll be there, and
All right.
we'll be here.
Very good. This is Joe Callahan. Have yourself a great day. Stay tuned for Leslie Page at the Libraries coming up, followed by Food First with Karen Zangari. It's next on ON Radio.
Broadcasting live and local daily from the Navigant Credit Union broadcast studio at the corner of Park Avenue and Kennedy Street. This is WOON Woonsocket Radio. And now, the news.
The death of a 2-month-old child remains under investigation in Newport.